Ladies and gentlemen, in my last video, I was discussing the issue to do with thinking, when to think and when not to think. You need to watch that video. Now today I want to introduce another beautiful rule which I call the do it first rule. Next I'm gonna introduce another weird rule which I call the do me I do you rule, so you don't want to miss any of my future uploads. And that's why you have all the reasons to subscribe to my channel and share it with others if you can. So if you want to be an attacking player, or if you want to be winning most of your games like I do, you need to learn how to go first. And by do it first, I don't just mean being the first one to attack. I also mean being the first one to defend or to react to a threat. So always be the first one to do something. Let me give an example. Speaking of gambits, let's say you go pawn to e4 and white plays pawn to d6. By now you know they want to play the perk defense like this, so they do not intend to start attacking immediately. They want to be positional. So in Blitz, what I like doing is being the first one to pick a fight, being the first one to create the first contact like pawn to e5. Not saying this is the perfect move in the world, but it works for me, especially in Bullet and Blitz. So most of my games end on move 2, and I'm not even joking, but this is not the goal. The idea is that if black takes, again I want to be the first one to attack that pawn, pap, creating another attack. So this is in Blitz, right? And let's say black plays pawn to e4. Again, I go knight g5, creating another contact. Because if knight to f6, thanks to my strategy, because I just managed to be the first one to transpose the game into the Tennyson Gambit like this. And maybe I might be the first one to win my opponent's queen like this. Oops. If king takes, I just go bishop g6 check, and the king can't go back or escape from Sobibo. So on the next move, I'm gonna win a free queen. This is not the point for today's video, by the way. I was just showing you the power of doing something first. Speaking of a more standard opening, that's why I recommended the Scotch Gambit in my last video, because this allows you to be the first one to attack, causing your opponent to think. And now you go pawn to d4. You are the first one to do these things. You are the first one to create contact between these pieces, and so black should take his time and think what to do next. If they take, again, I'm the first one to develop the light squared bishop, so I'm ahead in development, and in no time I'm gonna get back that pawn. And let's say if knight to f6, the main move here is pawn to e5. But you know what? Speaking of being the first one to cause some chaos against beginners and intermediate level players, and even some masters, I like playing knight g5. Not objectively the best, but I just want to be the first one to pick a fight. Maybe black is gonna be confused because I'm creating so many contacts between my pieces and my opponent's pieces, so he has to take time and think. After d5, I just take. And after knight takes, yes, I would love to be the first one to play this fried liver move, knight takes f7, but following the contact rule which I presented in my last video, where you have to take time and think what else can happen after you play a move that you want to play, I'd be able to see that knight takes f7 can be met with queen e7 check, and on the next move I would end up losing a free knight or something like that. So the best move here is castle short, and now I'm threatening to take on f7 like for real. I'm gonna be the first one to make my opponent lose his right to castle, so they end up playing bishop e7, but this is when I go knight takes f7. They have to save their queen somehow and letting me take the free rook on h8. So I'm able to achieve these kinds of moves because the only thing I'm thinking of is being the first one to launch an attack and being the first one to react to a threat. So don't wait for too long, ladies and gentlemen. One real example that I can give is in the Giuoco Pianissimo, where you both start with normal looking moves like this. You go bishop c4, black plays bishop c5, the top played move. You go pawn to c3. You can see that in this position there are no real contacts. There's no knight takes e5 due to knight takes e5. So this is not a real contact, but it's something to think about. So let's say knight to f6 by black. Cutting from my last video, now there is real contact between your pawn and your enemy's knight. So you have to attend to that. That's the power of taking breaks in chess. You have to take time to think whenever there's contact between your pieces and your opponent's pieces, hence knowing when to think and when not to think. Black plays pawn to d6. They want to be the first one to develop their light squared bishop and maybe create this contact. I remember talking about this. This is a theoretical move, avoiding losing your bishop to knight a5. So let's say black chooses to be the first one to pin your king's knight. Now there's real contact between your pieces, so you can get rid of that bishop h5. You now go knight b d2. I mean, if castle shot, you can also castle shot if you want, but let me stop right here. This is only move 8 and you have so many things that you can do in this position. So the do it first rule is just a rule that reminds you to be ahead in development, and that's why there are certain openings that I like playing since they put me in position of being the first one to attack. For example, in the Queen's Gambit setup, I like playing the Budapest. Why? Because it puts me in the first position to attack first. For example, after DE, I go knight g4, so I'm the first one to enter my enemy's territory like this. My opponent has to be first to defend this pawn as well. Again, I'm gonna be first to double attack this pawn. If my opponent defends, the whole idea is to go bishop b4 check. If white plays the top played move knight b d2, all I wanted was to be the first one to set the first trap in the game. For example, after pawn to a3, this is where we see this beginner trap where we hang our bishop deliberately to deliver a smoother checkmate immediately, because white's pawn on e2 is pinned to the king, and so the king can't move. This is just a cheap trap in the Budapest defense, and I was using it to make a point. So this all happened because I planned to be the first one to do something, to be the first one to attack. The beauty of this rule is that it doesn't just work at opening level. In fact, we make use of this rule in the middle game and in the end game, where we always want to be the first to react. So what I'm going to do is to play a random game where I'm going to do less of commentary and only using the word first to attack, first to defend, to make you understand better what I'm talking about. Okay, playing with black pieces. Let me go with the Budapest. Against this, I like playing pawn to d6. Yeah, I anticipated bishop f4, but I prepared pawn to c6. I just want to win the dark squad bishop like this, so I want to be the first one to launch an attack. I'm about to take the knight, play pawn to g5. Just want to be ahead with my attack, so I'm the first one to win a free piece. First one to hit the center. First one to counter attack the pawn. What else? First one to develop another minor piece. Take. First one to set the first trap. Check. Now I win the light squad bishop. First one to be up a piece. First one to win the game. Allow me to thank my patrons who support this channel and make sure that things are running smoothly. So this is just a platform where I share other premium content, including these tiers, which you can join to enjoy the benefits below. So once again, thanks to my 104 members. You can see the list goes on, and I'm sincerely grateful to all of these guys. You can also become a Casper Chess supporter by simply joining through the link in the description or in the comment section down below. Thank you guys as well for watching my videos on YouTube. Right.